Well, a subscriber introduced me to this article a little while ago and I just had to do a video on it. Well, without further ado...
Quite a bit changed for me over the first couple of years I started testosterone. My health and well-being improved, my happy button grew over an inch in length, my natural musk became so fragrant that I now gross even myself out if I don't shower pretty much every day. No deodorant can contain this beast.
Because women never have to shower. That's news. Ladies, please verify in the comments below if that's true.
So many awesome big deal body changes and mind improvements flourished. Then there were the smaller, odder things. I finally gained an appreciation for peanut butter and chocolate, my favorite color went from blue to green, and my most hated school subject suddenly became a favored pastime. All sorts of things from the big to the small altered themselves.
Yes, because boys like peanut butter and chocolate and girls don't. Girls like blue and boys like green, and apparently attaching a penis all of a sudden gives you that extra brain power you always wanted.
I was indeed exactly the same person I'd always been, just the 2.0 version. In the long run, I don't always know which things were an actual physical reaction to the tea, which were a result of getting out of a toxic environment, and which were simply my taste naturally changing as I put on a few years.
You know what? I'm going to give that one to you. I know before puberty I hated math, but a little bit of testosterone and several wet dreams later, it became one of my favorite subjects.
But just as fascinating as it was to witness my mental and physical changes, it was just as equal of an adjustment to comprehend how other people were responding to me. In short, I was being treated better by everyday America because people were reading me as a young, white, straight male, and I recognized my new privileges that came my way because of it.
Just because you are being treated better does not mean it is because you are a young, white, straight male. Sorry to tell you. But now that you are male, society can now treat you like the potential rapist you are. Oh, and if you partner up with someone abusive, you are more likely to be arrested, even though your partner is the perpetrator. Oh, and get prepared to be passed up for that job you always wanted because the company has to hire a woman over you, else they get sued for gender discrimination. So yes, I do hope you enjoy your newfound privileges. I mean, men have it so good that their suicide rate isn't 30 times that of females.
For the record, this isn't an article meant for transphobic people to share around and say, see, trans guys are totally reaping all the benefits of patriarchy.
Oh, you said patriarchy.
So according to this, Bigfoot is real.
And we must hate them. If you think this is true, you're not paying attention and clearly haven't educated yourself appropriately on trans issues, or patriarchal issues, or feminist issues, or really any issue that has to do with inequality based on this toxic culture of ours. Rather, this article is simply meant to focus on male privilege at large, primarily owned by cis men who think they're bestowing it only upon other cis men. Yes, plenty of passing trans guys do feel the effects of male privilege, especially us white ones. I wouldn't argue against that for a second.
Ah, the typical grass is always greener mentality, the epitome of this confirmation bias. You are only looking at privileges but refuse to look at the disadvantages. Remember, just because you haven't experienced any disadvantages doesn't mean they aren't there.
But we can't be wasting time griping over trans guys because they happen to gain male privilege for transition reasons that have nothing to do with it. What we need to be focusing on is, male privilege, which is the actual problem. The patriarchy is being unfair.
Oh, you said patriarchy.
So according to this, Bigfoot is real.
So it is the patriarchy we need to attack.
I think we are getting a better understanding of why people hate feminism. It's this myth of patriarchy that they like to perpetuate that forces them to look at only male privilege as bad, but when women are privileged, it's benevolent sexism. Feminism poison at its finest.
The fact of the matter is that male privilege makes me feel awkward. I recognize the unfairness that's happening, so my job is to help further call it out. I'm read as a man now, after all, and the irony is that other men are more apt to listen to me about these issues.
It doesn't matter what gender you are. If people smell bullcrap, they're going to call you out on it. And buddy, I'm calling you out on it. And it doesn't matter if you're a man. No one believes the word vomit that is feminism because you're a man.
So here's a very short list of everyday ways people have changed their behavior toward me, for no logical reason whatsoever.
And I'm sure no confirmation bias will influence these at all.
I'm suddenly funny. I've always been dry, sarcastic, and satirical with my humor. In ye olden times, I was considered unfunny at best and a bitch at worst. Now that I'm a short white guy, people automatically peg me for a comedian and laugh at the bulk of my mouth sings. But nothing has changed. I've even recycled some of my old material that people didn't find funny before just to make sure.
You're wrong. Your audience has changed. What is funny to one audience may not be funny to another. I can just imagine the guy just saying, I found your jokes pretty dry, but now that you're a man, I find you pretty dang hilarious. You also neglect some of the funniest female comedians we have, from Ellen DeGeneres to Tina Fey and many others. Maybe it's not your jokes, but your audience. There are many variables we can look at besides gender.
Yet I'm taken more seriously. I am still amazed at the amount of people that now immediately shut their mouths the second I opened mine. Believe me, my ideas haven't improved at all. I even tried to derail serious conversations with ludicrous stuff just to see what would happen, and I'd still be regarded highly.
Well, that's because you surround yourself with feminists. Those people always believe ludicrous idiocy. But believe me, you aren't being taken more seriously when people shut up. They're just in awe in how something so stupid is able to come from your lips. It's called the smile and nod. You also seem to be lucky, as I have to fight constantly to get my voice heard. And I'm a white man. So there must be another factor here besides race and gender. Confidence, maybe?
I rarely get interrupted. I used to be interrupted so often while presenting as a woman that I in turn started to talk over people as a form of conversational survival. Unfortunately, because it became so ingrained in me, I still find myself doing it from time to time, even though it's rarely necessary anymore.
Really? I find myself being interrupted all the time, especially when talking with my family. My father will just come in and start spouting things off as if there wasn't already a conversation going on. Some people are just inconsiderate. It has nothing to do with being a man. I have been talked over by women, too.
I get paid more. The proof is in my paychecks. Actual, numerical proof.
Oh, really? So you were given a raise right on the spot. Your boss just said, because you're a man, you are worth more. I mean, it couldn't be because you have more experience in your field, or if you change companies or anything like that. Forgive me if I'm going to call BS on this one, but your getting paid more has nothing to do with your new gender. It very well could be coincidence. How could you possibly know that you wouldn't have gotten that same raise or gotten that same wage if you would have moved companies had you remained a woman?
It's easier for me to be poor. Aside from usually getting paid more, it's been easier to find work when the person doing the hiring is a white guy. It's like helping out a buddy or something.
Oh yeah? What are you doing that I'm not? Because I'm a white guy and haven't worked since January. So much for that buddy theory you have. It's also interesting that women are wanted 2-to-1 compared to men, so it seems it's actually easier for women to get work because of this quota thing or something. Your confirmation bias is showing.
My clothing is more practical, and better made and longer lasting and cheaper and less judged.
First, define practical. I don't think neckties are at all practical. Second, no one is making you buy impractical clothing. I highly doubt every article of female clothing is impractical. And third, feminists care too much of what other people think.
I get a ton of free passes. For the record, I've never done anything horrific enough to invoke the all-saving phrase of boys will be boys, but I often forget to watch my mouth in front of superiors and authority figures. And while I was getting into trouble for the smallest things through school and my earliest jobs, these days I can't recall a single time I've been called out or reprimanded.
Oh, you think we get a free pass because of this phrase, boys will be boys? That's cute. Your experience is completely your own and doesn't represent most of men's experiences. Especially when men and women commit the exact same crime and men get no sympathy and serve 60% longer sentences simply for being men. It would seem this boys will be boys phrase isn't really helping give the normal population of men this free pass you are talking about. I cannot count the times I've gotten into trouble for not watching my mouth or reprimanded for forgetting something.
I'm not held accountable for keeping rape from happening. I remember all the rape prevention education I got, which always focused on how I should behave, where I should walk, when, how to appropriately cover my drink, and so on. These days, I'm told nothing, not even not to rape.
As if men need a daily reminder not to rape. How would you feel if someone kept reminding you that you shouldn't kill? If you aren't being told not to kill, I guess that means society is teaching you to kill, right? Thanks for showing why feminists are completely retarded and devoid of rational thought.
I'm very likely to arrive home safely after walking alone at night, assuming nobody is out there looking to fag bash, but that's a somewhat different matter. It remains that I walk alone at night far more than I used to, purely because I'm a dude. Put up my hoodie and people have been known to cross the sidewalk to avoid passing me.
Actually, just because you feel safe doesn't mean you are safe. Now that you are a man, you can join the statistics of not arriving home safely after walking alone at night. Men are far more likely to become a victim of a violent crime, so as a woman you are actually far more likely to arrive home safely than you are as a man. As for people crossing to avoid you, that's the, you are a potential rapist or murderer so I need to avoid you crossing. I wouldn't see that as a positive.
I don't have to worry about keeping an eye on my drink at parties and social gatherings. Unless at a gay venue where there seem to be some questionable, creepy chicken hawks around, drink safety doesn't even cross my mind anymore.
Just because it doesn't cross your mind anymore doesn't mean it shouldn't cross your mind. Instead of being the victim of sexual assault or rape, you can now be the victim of theft or mugging.
Flirtatious women are scamming men they meet at upscale Fort Lauderdale bars. They get themselves invited to the men's homes and then rob them, police say. 8 of the 13 men who recently have been robbed believe they were also drugged. Detectives released a composite sketch earlier this month warning men to watch out for Crystal. She went home with a 45-year-old Pompano Beach man and served him a vodka cocktail. When he awoke the next afternoon, He was missing $6,000 and 4 watches. The women are meeting their victims at Vibe Ultra Lounge, YOLO, Blue Martini, Dicey Riley's, and the Elbow Room. They steal expensive watches, electronics, cameras, handguns, and credit cards. So far, they've made off with more than $300,000 in cash and property.
So even if it's quote-unquote rare, if those guys practiced drink safety, it would have been less likely for them to have been drugged. They felt safe like you, but apparently their feelings betrayed them. You know what? Maybe we need to teach women not to drug men in order to steal. They must not know it's wrong, so they need to be taught.